song does this sound like? I'm trying to think. Good talk.
Happy Sunday, happy Easter. It is live before lock, and we'll be focusing on the baseball end of things. Then we could be diving into some NBA as well. It's a nice, fun-loaded sports day. Pete McCarthy, Eric Lindquist with you for the next hour plus. Get involved on YouTube in the chat, the whole 9 yards. Give us a like, subscribe. How we doing, Eric? This is a day. We got some multitasking going on over the course of the next hour plus.
Yeah, happy Easter, everybody. Welcome to the there's every sport available to you. There is USFL. There is Golf Showdown. There is, of course, MLB, which we're covering, NBA, which will be locking at the same time. We could just talk about all the sports. I mean, organizing my spreadsheets to try to get everything in today has been a challenge to say the least. But happy Easter. Happy to be doing what we do, hanging out on the holiday, and let's get right to it.
I have faith in you, Eric. I think you could do it. You can handle the multiple spreadsheets, the little top stacks going on over here, and then getting the NBA thing going over there. You do 10 different sites.
I like what you did with this.
Sports. Yeah.
It's very, I missed you.
Got to bring it, yo. It's a video show. This isn't just talking.
Oh my gosh. You're just like, it's literally from, what is it? Talladega Nights. I don't know what to do with my hands. And then she just comes in. Put it down. It's good to see you again, my friend.
Oh, you too. I'm a little Italian, so, the hands get going a little bit. I know I got the Irish last name. I'm just a mutt. But of course, this show brought to you by Odds Shopper. So let's dive into it, what we got coming up here in Major League Baseball. One game already banged, which is my favorite baseball term. You got one rain out here with the Royals and the Tigers. You don't have to worry about that. You'd heard banged before, right? I saw the eyebrows go up a little bit.
I know, but it's just it's jarring at 8:47 a.m. out here on the West Coast. Just on Easter. Banged when I was just checking it with chat. Hello to all the usuals. Good to see you. Oh, banged. Oh, that caught my attention.
Yeah. Well, sorry about that. I got to make sure everybody's feeling it, getting going, getting the juices flowing early on this Sunday. All right. So let's just hit the first game. How about that? Yankees Orioles are going to start it up. And they changed the schedule on Sundays now with Major League Baseball. So this is the featured game at 1:05, and then nobody else can start until 1:30. So you can watch half an hour of Yankees Orioles before you start flipping around. So Yanks O's, looking at the run total here, Yankees expected for about 5 runs here. The Orioles 3.5. Not exactly a big shocker that the Yankees are favored here. We'll start with one of my favorite pitchers, Major League Baseball, Nasty Nestor Cortez going for the New York Yankees. He's my favorite guy to watch from a fantasy perspective. How do you like him today against this no-name Orioles team?
Yeah, it's hard not to love him. It's hard not to love the entire Yankee side of this game. Lots been made of Camden Yards, how it's going to play. But from a pitching perspective, Nestor Cortez, lefty, kind of came out of the middle of nowhere for this Yankees team. He's only 27 years old. I feel like I've heard about him for years and years and years. And part of it is that, he was basically back end of the draft guy, 36th round, over 1,000th pick. I mean, MLB is just so deep that some of these guys fall through the cracks. He's definitely one of them. We saw the highest K rate of his entire career, 27.5% K percentage. That was drastic improvement from 23.2% his full season of 2019. 2020, he was out of the bullpen. Hard to look at anything there, 18.2% K percentage. So 2.9 ERA, little bit of regression there, 3.32 expected ERA in 2021 can be expected, but that is still so superb. That's why he's sticking out in the top pitchers tool. 8,200 is too cheap against a Baltimore Orioles offense we don't need to be that scared of. I think he's probably my favorite pitcher on the board under 9K. That shouldn't surprise anybody. If you want to try to get different, there's a lot of these guys that aren't garnering a lot of ownership, but I think no doubt about it. If you're playing cash, Nestor Cortez, core piece.
And even at Camden Yards, where the ball could fly out of there a little bit, again, this Orioles lineup doesn't really scare you, prevent you from getting to him. So Nestor Cortez in a pretty good spot here on this night. You look at some of the numbers over the course of the year, striking out 31%. Doesn't mean a whole lot because we are so early on in the season, but gives you a little bit of what he's been able to do as, again, the Yankees get the Baltimore Orioles here. And then if you're going to go against Cortez, is there anybody in this Baltimore lineup that jumps out at you? You love Nestor, so Probably not going to get to a ton of Orioles here, but what do you make of that end of things?
Yeah, I mean, they only have a 3.4 implied run total that I'm looking at here. It's 50 degrees. It's not the best hitting environment. I mean, even the Yankees, who I have interest in on the other side, have the second best top stack potential. It's still an implied total under 5. That kind of makes a spot like Boston really stand out a little bit more, even though it's 42 degrees. I mean, there's just not great hitting conditions all over the place outside of Miami, and there's a roof. So I'm looking at this spot as one of the better ones on the board for the Yankees. But Bruce Zimmerman just is not a good pitcher whatsoever. You get the lefties in there. That adds a little bit more for me in terms of Josh Donaldson in the middle of Judge and Stanton that just absolutely destroy left-handed pitching. So they destroy both sides, but such is life. I just really think Nestor Cortez stacking up the Yankees. I don't really know any other way that I would get to it. If I went to an Orioles bat, I think Ryan Mountcastle has kind of proven to be a guy that has a lot of power. Robinson Chirinos, this is not 2017, so I probably don't want to be going there, but he's under 3K at catcher. I just think it's pretty unnecessary. There's always viability to stacking against popular pitchers. This is going to be the second most popular pitcher on the board, but I just don't see it. Just a 2% top stack potential. I think we can pretty much hard pass this one for Baltimore.
Yeah, stay out of it for Baltimore. I agree with you on that. As far as the Yankees, I don't love this stack just based on what the ownership projections are at this point. You have some negative leverage there, but you do have some power, as you mentioned. Judge, Stanton, Donaldson, all in line to potentially have some powerful days at the plate, which you're always keeping an eye on. Wouldn't be one of the teams that I run to, but as you mentioned, they are second in top stack percentage on the board today. It's just a little too much ownership, not enough value would be the way that I see it.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you're into it.
I see that. I totally get that. For me, the nice thing about a team that's so popular like this, and you're looking at the top stacks tool, and you always have to take into account which individual batters you're isolating in order for that number to get there. Like Higashioka is sitting there at 7.6%. I think he's like an auto include in a lot of my stacks. It becomes Aaron Hicks, 3,100. I expect that ownership to be a little bit higher than 16%. He's leading off against Zimmerman in Camden. It makes a lot of sense that he would fall in a lot of lineups if you're trying to play Manoah, if you're trying to play Wheeler and getting up to top tier pitching. I think Hicks will show up in a couple more lineups, but Judge and Stanton are so clearly going to be the guys that end up so popular here. If you can find a way to get away from one of them and include maybe a Torres, I don't really like Kiner Falefa, but you can definitely get different there. And DJ LeMahieu, 6%. He's been on the struggle bus for the last year and a half, but he's still a guy that I think can provide you something, especially in the heart of this order. So DJ LeMahieu, Higashioka, if you put those guys kind of together into your 5-man stack and get away from one of Judge and Stanton, you're going to actually find a way to be a little bit more different than having both of them in every stack.
I think LeMahieu is one of those guys that you kind of take last year and throw it out the window. He was playing hurt, had the hernia surgery after the year. Just listening to the Yankees broadcast, you're talking all spring about how the power was back in batting practice. He's ripping the ball. And even if it hasn't shown up in games thus far, you can find that first game, 9 games into the season now, and get on a guy that maybe not a whole lot of people are onto right now. But I think you could expect LeMahieu to bounce back this year, and maybe it starts today.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I did a show with Greg on, Friday that I got here. We did a show on Friday where he was talking about, maybe Ohtani's going to see some regression or something. I'm like, let's pump the brakes on 1 week of sample size in any capacity and roster really good hitters. And DJ LeMahieu over his career has been a really good hitter. Obviously, they're just kind of apples and oranges. One's aging, one's still pretty young, and you got to always kind of have context to everything. But I'm willing to give LeMahieu batting 5th in this Yankees lineup, decent enough stuff that we saw. Spring training was also very short for all these guys. So I'm going to cut everybody some slack for the first couple weeks of the season.
All right. So Yankees, Orioles, any other thoughts on this game?
Yeah. A lot of Yankee interest, basically no Baltimore interest.
Yeah.
If Zimmerman shows up in a lineup or two, I mean, it's one of those things where over a long period of time, Adam Scherer talks about this a lot, where over a long period of time, doing certain things to get these under-owned stacks and under-owned pitchers makes sense. But I mean, he's got a 5.9% top 2 pitcher percentage. That's the third worst that is on the board. Only 0.5% ownership. So I think I'm making 300 lineups. It's going to be something where I'm going to probably get to a couple shares, but my God, it's just so hard to imagine that it actually works out for you.
Yeah. What do you need? About 2 and you're above the field with Zimmerman in
2?
it. So
what do you mean only 2?
2 out of 3.
Can you name that movie?
Oh, no. Oh, Austin Powers?
No.
2?
Oh, if you got this is like best friend card immediately. I'm curious if chat can get it. I'm sure somebody can Google 2. What do you mean only 2? And it'll show up, but be a deep cut. Willy Wonka.
I was hoping we
for
were
what
going
it's
to be
worth.
friends, but
I know. No longer. With Jordan Klein, he's like, oh, good one, Eric. Willy Wonka.
Well, that's your BFF right there.
Just produce.
All right, next up. Okay. I'll spare Jordan some abuse. Nationals, Pirates.
There you go.
Even they're going to play to a tie today. 4 runs on each side. Patrick Corbin going for Washington was absolutely lit up his last time out, just like he was lit up all of last year. Jose Quintana goes for Pittsburgh as the Pirates with their big name roster, obviously. So Quintana gets the opportunity. He's been floating around the majors for a while after some good years with the Chicago White Sox. I guess we'll start with the Corbin to the Pirates end of all of this. I mean, it's just been so long since guy's been an effective pitcher. He is someone that I worry about, even with the small sample size of one bad start last week.
Yeah, this is a wonky game. I'm not going to lie, because I don't think long-term either of these offenses or baseball teams are very good. We can isolate guys like Soto, Cruz, Bell on the one side, and on the Pittsburgh side, I think you still have to have interest because it's a super popular Patrick Corbin here. I think we should have interest in both pitchers. I think we should have interest in both offenses. There's really no question about it. Both of these guys used to be name brands. We used to go to, they used to be Gucci, and now they're basically like the knockoff of. I don't really have a joke for that. I apologize. But we're looking at regression in Patrick Corbin's K numbers, and that's what's really made him difficult from a fantasy perspective. In 2018, 30.8% K percentage. That became 28.5%, still very serviceable in 2019. It's fallen off a cliff. He's not missing bats. 20.3% K percentage in 2020, 19% now, one start, basically 18.4%, but 5.62 expected ERA last season. This is not a very good pitcher, but he's cheap and he's facing just a horrendous offense in Pittsburgh. So I understand why he's getting as much attention as he will. But that also gives me such interest in getting to the Pittsburgh stack, specifically going up against him. 3.3% top stack potential doesn't look very good, but it's a very popular pitcher. And I think that that's something that has to always be considered, is that you're getting leverage against every lineup that has Corbin in it, not just the fact that it's a 3.3% top stack potential. So I'm happy to play Corbin at 6,500. I think he makes sense as the best value that exists on the board, especially according to our tools, 24.9% value percentage. But I definitely think Pittsburgh, I might have a little bit more than the field will.
Well, one guy I like on the Pittsburgh offense, Brian Reynolds, to potentially hit
professional
one out
hitter
today. Yeah. Oh, professional hitter, real good hitter, real strong player. You don't necessarily think of him as a huge power bat, but certainly has that ability. Love the matchup against Patrick Corbin today. I think that he's a guy that even as a one-off in some lineups you can get to.
Yeah. And not only that, but everybody's so cheap that you want to talk about security. Alek Manoah is the most secure arm on the board. He's expensive. You're paying full freight. But I also love Zach Wheeler. I think that this is a fantastic spot to be overinvested in him at his current ownership. So 10-2, 10K. I bet most stacks that are playing Pittsburgh probably try to pay up for pitching, but I don't really care considering none of these guys are popular. I don't think that I'm going to be overlapping that many lineups. I have some different one-offs I can kind of mix in, not just go to the expensive side of the board, leave some salary on the table. It's just very simple for me to look at guys like Marisnick has never really panned out from Houston to Chicago, but there's definite power there leading off. Michael Chavez didn't really pan out in Boston, but doesn't really matter when you're getting 2,600 for the guy batting third in that lineup. Cole Tucker, even at the very, very bottom end of it, I mean, it just makes sense to put a lot of these guys into your pool, just because I think Corbin, we've seen definite regression from him in a way where I understand that this is not a major league offense or like even close to it, but Corbin's been that bad that I think you have to consider it.
Now, let me clean some up. This is what happens when you do the research at 10 a.m. Reynolds is out of the lineup for Pittsburgh, so wouldn't recommend getting to him in one-offs.
I was literally looking at it. I didn't see him, but I've got Tsutsugo and Vogelbach, and I mean, there's power that actually exists here. I'm not super enthusiastic considering, Yoshi, he's basically been a righty killer that the Dodgers tried to make him a thing for a hot second, and he couldn't really pan out there. Pittsburgh, they found a little something. He's generally good against righties. This is not a great spot for either of them, but once again, Corbin has been so bad that I don't think it matters.
And before we get to the other end, you want to clean up, the chat did know the movie. You do have best friends in there.
They crushed it.
Didn't take long.
Again, it's a teacher. It's like his only scene in the entire movie, and it's Charlie's teacher in the movie. So it was a pretty deep cut quote. So I'm not gonna blame you for not knowing, but be better, Pete.
I've watched that movie a lot. Now, is it the new one or the old one? Are you doing
the old one?
Or Johnny Depp? Oh, okay.
Old one.
Just making sure. I don't remember that line at all.
Stop remaking classics. There we go.
What else are we gonna do? There's nothing new now. Nationals offense, usual suspects, Giovanni Soto, not Giovanni Soto, Juan Soto, Nelson Cruz for the Nationals. So you go up against Jose Quintana, the left-hander, not a big strikeout guy, not a whole lot in his arsenal really at this point in his career. Not a bad spot for Washington, though. It's not a very deep lineup. You're kind of looking at a couple big bats in the middle, not a whole lot elsewhere.
Yeah, I think that's kind of been the theme of the last couple of weeks, or the last week of me talking baseball, has been just looking at Soto, Cruz, Bell, and moving on from the rest of this offense. But you just kind of referred to it. Quintana at this stage in his career, confirmed not very good. Last season, 45.5% hard hit percentage, bottom 6% of all of major league hitters. Ex-Wobicon of 436. 5.02 expected ERA. So actually the 6.43 ERA you put up, there should be some positive regression, but that doesn't really make sense when you see how hard the ball is getting hit off of him. 28.6% K percentage, though. That is the kind of thing that sticks out to me, is that he can still have these outings where he misses bats. I think what's surprising to me is I have a little bit more interest relative to ownership in getting to Jose Quintana than Patrick Corbin. Yes, Patrick Corbin is facing arguably the worst offense. Now, I don't even think it is actually an argument. It is the worst offense on this slate. But I'm looking right now at Jose Quintana at just 4.5% ownership. I'm going to, no question about it, be over that according to our top two pitchers tool. I mean, 10.1% chance of him working out as a top two pitcher here. That doesn't include all the times that he can still work out where he can be the cheaper guy as opposed to Alek Manoah, Wheeler, who put up better scores routinely. So I think he's going to be somebody that I just get to a lot more of.
And he's relatively cheap on DraftKings. It's 7,500. So you're not really paying up here. Have a chance to have some good value and get above the field, where the field is much more on Corbin than Quintana. So worth the dart throw a little bit here. And this, look, there's always these spots where you can play both sides of it. And this is certainly one of them, where you can have some lineups with Quintana. You can have some lineups where the Nationals thrash him, and you hope one end or the other. You get the extreme scenarios here, the Andrew Heaney type of thing, where he goes out, he strikes out 11 in 5 innings, or he's done after 3 and he gave up 10 runs. It just, Quintana's not quite that extreme, but in the ballpark there.
Or Ohtani the other night. That was fun. Oh. I had a lot of fun. I didn't have fun.
No, it's not a very fun one.
But anyway, Cruz, Bell, Soto, obvious favorites. There shouldn't really even be a question about that. 2, 3, 4. We're going to roster them a bunch. I think if I had to play somebody else in the middle of that lineup, I don't mind Lane Thomas, 2,300 in the outfield, batting 6th. I think he's somebody that I'll probably be a little bit over on, according to our tools. I mean, 1.5% ownership, really not that hard to get over on some of these guys. So if I'm full stacking up Washington, which I do plan on doing on the other side of this, there's a little bit of positive leverage to be had. I think you got to include the big boppers, because that's just what's going to get Quintana in trouble. And then having guys like Lane Thomas, Maikel Franco, just you mix and match all of them.
Victor Robles, another guy hitting 9th who can steal a base or two for you, and maybe you can find some points there, but hasn't quite been the prospect.
I missed the Michael Taylor at the bottom of this lineup. That was always like the sneaky full stack way to go about it. But once upon a time, I missed those days. Come back, Michael Taylor.
Always hated his name on the spreadsheets, where you
Michael
kind of
A.
move
Taylor.
one spreadsheet to another, and then he's got different names. You got to go through and switch it. One of the guys that drove me nuts with that. But anyway,
not great.
Yeah. You don't have to worry about that anymore. If you get the Awesemo subscription, you get all locked in on the Awesemo Plus tools, and you don't have to play that game. You don't have to do it all manually with 14 different Excel files. So check it all out. Every DFS sport is out there, and Awesemo Plus weekly pass goes for $29.95. This will give you full access to all the premium content and tools on Awesemo.com, including player projections, ownership projections, top golfers, lineup builder, and much, much more. And of course, if you're only looking to play MLB DFS, you can sign up for one of our Awesemo Plus MLB packages for as low as $4.95 weekly. Please note that Fantasy Cruncher, that's an add-on, but it can easily be added with these packages at checkout. So stop guessing, start winning. Join Awesemo Plus today. These top stacks tools that we're talking about, the pitchers tool that we're talking about, all this stuff is right there for you at Awesemo. So check out the weekly pass. Give it a shot. $4.95. Twins, Red Sox next up. I was looking at the home run numbers, the possibilities for the Red Sox. They have a lot of guys that have the ability to tee off here against Bailey Ober. JD Martinez, Rafael Devers, Enrique Hernandez, and Bobby Dahlbeck all popped when I was looking at the home runs. And it's not a stack that necessarily jumps off the board at you when you look at the top stacks tool, but I always like lineups where maybe they don't score 20 runs, but if you can get 4 homers out of a lineup, you're going to be in pretty good shape going about it that way as well. There's definitely some power potential here.
Yeah, I'm going to be over on Ober, and I'm going to be over on the Red Sox. So even more extreme than the Quintana situation, because I'm not going to get carried away playing Jose Quintana. He's not going to reach 20% types levels in my lineups, but Bailey Ober might. And that's absurd to me because he's 9K. He looks so wonky out there. As a Minnesota Twins fan, you have a 6'9", 6'10" dude out there, no heat on the fastball at all. Sits right in like the 92 mile per hour range. He's just, I don't really even know what to think about him going forward. In 2021, yeah, phenomenal walk rate, 5% walk rate, but 25.3% K percentage. It's just kind of 4.54 expected ERA over the course of last season. He's a guy that I think is just a run-of-the-mill pitcher. I know Minnesota was expecting him. Maybe Ryan ends up being the guy for us. That would be great. But Bailey Ober is just like an okay guy. But in the top, amongst all of these guys on this slate, we've got a 9K Ober that's going 1.3% owned, top 2 pitcher percentage of 12.5%. Plus, yes, this entire Boston offense can be very, very lethal. But with Trevor Story added to the mix, that's going to be a guy who's going to K a lot. Bobby Dahlbeck, a very high K rate. We've got Xander Bogaerts, traditionally going to be a strikeout guy too. So at the same time that this is a very dangerous offense, there are strikeouts to be had. And if Ober has it going, which again it's going to take a lot of deception, he's not somebody who's going to blow away anybody over the course of his major league career. I think Boston has an above average strikeout rate that we can kind of look at going forward.
I like the idea of the 6'10" guy, depending on deception. Like he's hiding in the bushes somewhere, going to pop out and sneak a slider by you or something. It's kind of hard to be deceptive when you're,
it's
guy.
like watching a guy on
stilts
stilts on the mound. It's so weird. He takes up all of your screen when you're watching him because it just takes, how it's always the over the shoulder shot in baseball. He just takes up the full screen every time he pitches. It's really wonky to me.
Can't see the plate. He's just blocking it all. It's one big shadow. You worry about the shadows at 5 o'clock. Some of these games. No, it's just Bailey Ober's out there on the mound.
How bad must he be at basketball?
Maybe he must be pretty bad at it if he's not playing it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, or just he realized he had. I don't even know what it is that makes him capable of missing bats. Just kind of a wonky situation. I mean, he throws a 4-seamer like 58% of the time, he did in his first start. I know it's just a strange situation, but if you're going to give me a guy who's projected well in our tools to be 12%, he's going to be 1.8%. I'm going to have lots of him. And then Boston, positive leverage to be had there, which is absurd. Boston, 4th best top stack potential. That's just a jam spot, especially with how much power you can play every single person in this lineup and feel pretty confident that you're getting in good.
Yeah, no, you got pop up and down that lineup. It's a lot of strikeouts, a lot of potential home runs. So again, one of those outcomes where it could go either way. You want to have a little bit of both. Michael Wacha going for Boston. Remember a guy I really get too excited about. I mean, in Tampa, you're lucky if you got 4 innings out of him. Little different situation in Boston. How much faith can you have in Wacha going up against a Twins offense that now includes Carlos Correa and company?
Yeah, sorry, just responding to things. Wow, such a professional here on this fine day. I'm looking at Michael Wacha. He's just never been that intriguing of a pitcher. I don't really know. There's random games that he just shuts it down, but he's just not a very good guy at missing bats. He's just kind of an above average, just real life pitcher. Marcus Stroman, kind of a comp for me, just thinking about Michael Wacha. Minnesota has a lot of lethality up and down the lineup here now, but I'm not going to be getting completely carried away because they're already super, super popular. And this offense, I think, is going to just be popular going forward. I wanted to see Buxton back in here. We don't have Buxton back. That's kind of a bummer to me, but that becomes another bat that can be on the cheap. And Kepler, 2,900 batting fourth. That's going to be insane. Carlos Correa, shortstop, being the position that it is always, 4K. He's going to be popular. Araz is a guy that I guess has already showed a little bit more pop here already, but everybody's super popular in this lineup. Maybe that's justified, but Trevor Larnach, I mean, he's going to be 2K batting sixth here in this lineup. That's kind of the deal. You remove a $5,700 bat in Buxton, you insert a min salary guy. Going to be a lot easier for people to get to that. Gary Sanchez, I think he makes sense as a one-off catcher spot, batting seventh here. We know the kind of power he has, but up and down this lineup, there's opportunity. The only guy I'm just not going to play in anything is going to be Nick Gordon there at the very bottom. But 1 through 8, I'm definitely going to have exposure. I just can't get carried away with as much negative leverage as there is there.
And something to watch, just a little bit of rain in the forecast. I don't think this game's really at risk of getting banged.
I don't think so.
12:30 now, I could say it, right? Yeah. But we'll see how that one plays out. Just keep an eye on it over the course of the.
So somebody brings up an interesting point here too, because I was thinking about this. Stephen Leibowitz, good to see you. I might like Wacha more than Corbin, despite the top pitchers tool. Top pitchers tool likes getting to Michael Wacha, 9.2% top two pitcher percentage with just 5% ownership. Those are the kind of guys that over the long run, you might want to just get a little bit more of. For me, I think that I'm so heavily invested in Manoah and Wheeler today that it's going to be hard for me to get super contrarian there. But I already know that Michael Wacha is a guy. We just talked about how popular the bats are from the Minnesota side. It's the exact same situation as what I was talking about with Quintana, where I think getting to more of these guys over a long course, like over a long sample size over an entire season, is going to be profitable rather than just looking at it as an isolated event of today.
Super chat from Jeff. 2 pitchers for cash on DraftKings. Manoah, who we know you like. Nestor Cortez, Patrick Corbin.
I'm not playing cash. It's not that much of a consideration. I find it hard to believe that I wouldn't land on Manoah and Cortez. If I were, I think 10K, 8,200 probably gets me access to every single bat. I think there's probably some viability knowing how I build my lineups, getting to Alex Wood or Wheeler alongside Manoah. I think there's enough cheap bats that exist on the slate. These Sundays where you get, certain guys that sit. You talked about Brian Reynolds. We have some Pittsburgh bats. I don't think you need to play anything like that in cash, but I just talked about LeCastro. I talked about some cheapies that are just 2K. You get one of those guys in your lineup, and you probably have access to a guy like Wheeler alongside Manoah. I might prefer that if I'm playing cash, but as it stands right now, I think the chalk answer, if I'm just sitting here building, would be Alek Manoah and Nestor Cortez.
Yeah, we talked about Cortez having that terrific matchup against Baltimore Orioles. We'll get into Manoah right now as the Toronto Blue Jays be hosting the Oakland Athletics. Manoah, we saw what he did his rookie year last year. He's pretty dang good already this year. He's struck out 30% of the batters that have strode up to the plate against him. He gets his A's team that maybe it's overperformed a little bit. I mean, they were able to take 3 or 4 from the Rays earlier this week, but the expected runs, not a whole lot today, 3.19 for Oakland. So it's a great spot for Manoah.
Yeah, Manoah is a freak. I love this guy. Another guy who takes up your entire screen watching him pitch. It's fantastic. He is a big dude. Not as much tall. I mean, he's 6'6". Yeah, he's very, very tall. 285. How you doing, CC Sabathia? But obviously, this is a right-handed pitcher that limits hard contact, 31.2% last season, and swings and misses, 27.7% K percentage, 3.3 expected ERA over 2021. He's just a really, really good young pitcher. I think he's going to be a stalwart for this Blue Jays starting rotation going forward for the next couple of years. He's going to be just excellent. And I think this is just another fantastic spot that you should be invested. When you look at his ownership, he's 49.7% owned compared to 33.7% top two pitcher percentage. But again, I think there's so many paths where he can still work out for you. He's so secure going up against an Oakland team that it's just awful, so bad.
3.5-4, man.
Stop it. Just stop it. Don't do that to me. Tony Kemp, Sean Murphy, Chad Pinder, Seth Brown. This is just not a major league. Something named a Christian.
It's like the Moneyball.
Something named a Christian Bethancourt is batting sixth. So I'm just not here for it.
No, they're not good.
They're not good. So give me all the Manoah.
Even in Toronto, where the ball could fly out of there a little bit. The A's not exactly built for all that. And on the other end, Adam Oller and his 33+ ERA on the mound for Oakland. Like, it's early season, we know. But this Blue Jays lineup, it's got a little bit of pop. There's a little bit of pop in this Blue Jays lineup to get to on a day like today, though it's not as deep as some other offenses that we're talking about.
Yeah, he's another guy that we're just going to be targeting. I mean, this is pretty clear cut. Toronto, top stack on the board, tons of negative leverage. So obvious getting to a guy like this. This is the Greg Ehrenberg. I keep giving shout outs to everybody here at Awesemo for their little tidbits that they've added into my baseball analysis. But Adam Oller, whenever you see a guy who's 27 making his major league debut, I guess he's 28 here now, they're not going to probably be all that good. So after one outing, it's blue across the entire page over on Baseball Savant. Really nothing else that I need to say. This is the best offense in baseball. This is a fantastic spot. You should have shares. You probably don't want to get carried away. It's not going to be like, sometimes Coors Field, you get a decent enough pitcher. I can full fade that and feel pretty good about it. Or, even against gas cans, I'll take my shots with the rest of the board. I am not willing to write off this Toronto offense in this spot.
Yeah, a lot of negative leverage, but obviously a lot of potential for this group as well with the situation they're in. So as we talked about, where do you make yourself a little different? If so many people are going in on the Blue Jays, this isn't a very deep lineup. Where do you take some shots at the bottom where maybe you think get lucky on something here?
Well, I think the most obvious one to me is going to Alejandro Kirk, 3,100, playing him over Zach Collins, who's going to be, I think, a little bit more popular batting sixth. It always seems like when you get the cheap catcher batting sixth, you start seeing some of that inflated ownership there. I'll just take the shot with Kirk, who I think is more of the proven commodity here. I'm all right getting to a little bit more of him in the 8-hole. Looking at FanDuel, I think that's kind of something that shows up too, where you see guys higher up in the order. Most people are building now using our tools, using some kind of a projection site. So maybe I'm overthinking that a little bit, not the hand builders out there that would definitely put the guy batting sixth then over 8. But I think that's a decent enough way to look at it too. Also, Kevin Biggio, I don't know what happened to him. Once upon a time, obviously he's the son of he was the prodigy in the same way that Vlad Guerrero Jr. was, but hasn't really worked out for our friend Kevin Biggio. Maybe you can throw some lineups there, but I'm probably just going to be removing him from the pool. Again, this is very concentrated. You talked about it. Vlad Guerrero, Springer, Bichette, Gurriel. I think they all make sense as bats you want to have exposure to, but I'm going to be lower than the field on their individual ownership just because I think they're going to get steamed up so much here. But Matt Chapman batting fifth, he's only 7.7% owned. I think that's kind of like an auto add to some of those stacks. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to be switching a little bit more of Kirk and Collins and trying to get different elsewhere.
Yeah, Chapman popped up with Springer is the most likely Blue Jays to go deep today. Chapman not really, one of the big offensive names do you think about here going up against a former team. So certainly can get to him. And I guess we kind of went through Manoah pretty quickly because, look, he's a pretty obvious play. It's just a matter of like how much do you want to get to Manoah when his ownership is as high as it is, because it is an obvious good spot for a very talented pitcher.
Yeah, I think just because the stack component is so important to baseball, where you're trying to find positive leverage. You're not trying to just be holding hands with the field and chalky. I'm pretty confident playing more than 48.6% Alek Manoah. I find him pretty unavoidable. Oakland is a team you want to pick on, and I will have some Oakland bats. I'm not going to ever make that mistake again where, it's Ohtani and I just didn't have enough Oakland. I'm going to be north of 2, 3, 4% on Oakland bats, even though I find their offense abysmal. Just because in the event that you do get that absolute blow up spot, you capitalize on the other side of it. But I find it very hard to believe that Manoah isn't the most secure pitching candidate on the board, and by a pretty wide margin. So I'm pretty comfortable being over 50% in my lineups.
Yeah, the pitcher stool certainly agrees with that. And I'm interested in getting into Zach Wheeler, which we will a little bit later, as the Phillies be taking on the Miami Marlins and some of the other top pitching options on this day. Next up, Arizona and the New York Mets. You have Humberto Castellanos going for Arizona, David Peterson for the Mets. So not exactly a dynamic pitching matchup here with those two going at it, but still the Diamondbacks only expected to score 3.13 runs. It's the implied runs total for the Arizona Diamondbacks. So look, Peterson looked good coming in relief earlier this year, gets the opportunity to start here with the Mets as banged up as they are in their rotation. So we'll start with Peterson versus this Arizona offense. Is this just a stay away on both ends, or an end that you like more than the other?
Yeah, I think you can get to some David Peterson, 14.2% ownership, 10%, 10.7% top two pitcher percentage. I think you can. Arizona, they have some hitters. They've got a couple guys as opposed to Oakland that we covered, Pittsburgh, where there aren't a ton of major league level hitters whatsoever. There's at least some guys here, specifically Ketel Marte. We all know that. Cooper Hummel could definitely be something. Carson Kelly, a very serviceable catcher. Christian Walker, power. Top of this lineup definitely has some pop there. But a 3.4 implied run total, colder there in New York, wind blowing in from left. Checks a lot of boxes to take some shots on David Peterson. Plus, coming from the left side here, you kind of isolate Smith, Varsho, McCarthy. Some of those guys just not going to be as successful against left on left. So I'm okay getting to some of him, but not the most intriguing guy based on what we saw last season. 24% K percentage, 10.1% walk rate. This walk rate is just a little bit absurd. 10.8% for his entire career. I think there's some full stack potential you can have for the Arizona side.
And then on the other end, Humberto Castellanos starting for Arizona. And this looks like he's a reliever. So not expected to be going very deep into this game. And I'll see exactly what the plan is for Arizona here in the next couple of moments. But, not a guy you're dying to get to on this day. Probably just get a couple innings at most.
Yeah, no, he's unplayable. I think just pitch count, he's unplayable. Again, I don't have a ton of interest on anything from the Arizona side, but I'm saying that I might get to one or two stacks in 300 lineups. I might get to a couple there. I mean, they're only 1.7% top stack potential, but then Castellanos in our top pitcher stool, 0.1% chance of working out optimally. So unplayable. You should just remove them from your pool.
Yeah, don't bother. And then for the Mets here, we saw Starling Marte go deep yesterday. There's been a little bit of pop in this lineup. I mean, not terribly deep today with Travis Jankowski getting the start at center. Luis Guillorme is starting at second base. But certainly 2 days ago, the Mets home opener, we saw what this offense is capable of, putting up, 10 runs, I think.
Yeah. I like the Mets. I think you have just some opportunity with a lot of these guys, but it's a full stack in a bullpen game. There's positive leverage to be had. There are some great bats to isolate, but I'm not going to get carried away. Again, there's better game environments. There's better spots to go crazy and target some of these guys. Plus, the back half of this lineup, you want to talk about brutal. I mean, Travis Jankowski, former Padre, it's just brutal there at seventh. Guillorme, you talked about that. It's just not going to be an offense that I'm going to get to much of the back half of it. Pretty clear that I'm going to get to the top of the order like everybody else when I do stack them up. You're probably going to throw in maybe a little bit of James McCann in the 8-hole there, but they're not that popular, and I think for good reason. Starling Marte, though, 3,900 over on FanDuel. I'm all right going that direction.
Let's see if you can get one out. Take a pop on him. He's looked terrific in the early couple of weeks of this season. But as you mentioned, 48 degrees. It's going to be windy there at Citi Field, and when you have Castellanos, Peterson, and the over-under is still at 7.5 runs. Kind of know what you're getting into with this game.
And Starling Marte, I mean, he's 6K over on DK. Lindor is 5,800. I mean, I'm going to be playing a lot more of the Manoah, the Wheeler side of things, playing some pretty expensive pitchers and getting different elsewhere here. Marte, Lindor, just so expensive to get to. But if you have the money, make phenomenal one-offs, no doubt about it.
Make your best bets in 30 seconds or less. OddsShopper features hundreds of bets daily to give you the edge you need betting NBA and NHL player props with expected win percentages and return on investments included. OddsShopper uses the same DFS projections we use here at Awesemo to filter out the best bets available. OddsShopper also features a parlay builder with optimized parlays and an arbitrage tool that identifies risk-free guaranteed profit bets that you can make across sports books. You can find the link to OddsShopper in the description of the video. So head on over there and start making smarter bets now. Don't start making smarter bets. Start making smarter bets. You don't sound very smart when you start mixing up starts and smarts and smarts and starts.
Huh?
San Francisco Giants, Cleveland Guardians. Not expected to see a whole lot of runs in this particular game. Looking at 3.89 implied runs total for the Giants. The Guardians 3.61. That's because Alex Wood is on the hill for San Francisco. Didn't go very deep his last time around. You're nervous to get to him? He is someone that could put up those strikeout numbers, but if he's not built up to go deep, then what are you doing?
Well, he went 86 pitches. That's pretty deep. Comparatively early season, I feel all right going to Alex Wood. And this is another guy that needs to be in your portfolio of pitchers. 9,500, a little bit cheaper than Manoah, a little bit cheaper than Wheeler. If he ends up going nuts, though, I'm probably in a little bit more trouble because I'm siding more with the Wheeler side than I am with Alex Wood. Looking at Cleveland, I don't expect this offense to be very good. They have definitely outperformed expectations, specifically Quan. Jose Ramirez is a freak, don't get me wrong, but I don't mind getting to some Alex Wood here on this slate. Seems like a little bit of negative leverage, but I'm pretty whatever about it. Alex Wood, though, 86 pitches. I have no problem with his pitch count. It's more of just can he get through this order? I see more strike up opportunity with Manoah, with Wheeler. I think that's kind of what's making my decision to get to more of them. But Alex Wood is definitely a guy I'm going to have shares of.
86 pitches isn't bad. It shouldn't knock 86 pitches. I think he was done after like the fourth inning or so.
He was. He got removed pretty early in that one, but
that's because his pitch count ran up, which is something that he does a little bit. He'll walk a few guys. He'll strike out a lot of guys. So.
Yeah. He had a amazing 6.7% walk rate in 2021, 3.92 expected ERA. I mean, San Francisco's found a way to revamp some of these pitchers, and going back to his Dodger days, he's always been serviceable, always been pretty good. He did give up some hard contact at times pre-2020, but he's learned to limit a lot of that damage. He's just a good pitcher. It's just, do I see him competing at 26% K percentage last season? He was 23.1% the season before that, but last year, just a massive K rate compared to his entire career standard of 22.2%. I'm expecting a little regression in that standpoint, which vaults Wheeler up where we just have a larger sample size of him missing more bats.
Yeah. So Alex Wood gets this Cleveland offense, and then they jumped out for Franmil Reyes, the guy I usually don't mind taking a shot on. If he hits a homer, it's usually like 500 feet. I think you get an extra point for that. No?
Nah, I wish. That'd be cool. Looks good. Yeah. I'm here for things that look good. We want that Ken Griffey swing is what we want.
Yeah. Well, hit it a mile, man. Mike Trout the other day, was it 470? That's the kind of stuff we want. So that's kind of what you're looking at this, the Guardians lineup. Aaron Savali on the hill for Cleveland in this spot. He gets this Giants offense that they overachieved last year. It's kind of the same team coming back. They won a lot of games. I mean, you can't necessarily call it a bad offense, but that's not why they won 100 plus games a year ago. As you see a lineup that Brandon Belt is really the power potential in this lineup.
Yeah, Brandon Belt's there, and just kind of going through some of the numbers from last season for some of these for these hitters. I mean, Mike Yastrzemski, long-term going to be solid. Jock Peterson, a very nice add to this offense, just in terms of power. And when you're stacking a team up, you kind of want the opportunity for them. You want to get paid when they go crazy. And right now, there's positive leverage to be had for them. It's not fun because Savali's about appropriately owned, 7%. I think San Francisco, maybe their offense a little bit more popular, but I do like targeting like a Patrick Corbin, or I like targeting a Jose Quintana, or guys that I see massive blow up potential. I don't really see that with Savali here, but it's a good enough offense with some power up and down the lineup. I mean, specifically, you get to like even a Wilmer Flores in the 6th hole, or you get to Darren Ruff. I guess he's batting third, but Steven Duggar, 8th. I think there's a lot of opportunity for them as a stack that is just going under owned. So I'm happy to get to, a little bit over the field of.
Very cold this game, 37 degrees.
Yeah, it's not
what
great.
It's expected to be in Cleveland, which is not ideal for offense. I haven't watched the Giants yet this year. Is Peterson still rocking the pearls? I mean, I don't think he could really put them away.
I haven't even noticed. Yeah, I mean, the World Series champion Jock Peterson back to back, right? So life is good if you're Jock. Life is good if you're Jock Peterson. We'll put it that way.
I saw the Braves World Series rings. They included, I don't know if it was just for his or if it was all the guys. I think it was all of them, but they included a pearl on there with the 10,000 diamonds or whatever they have broken up on these rings now. They're just ridiculous, but they had one pearl on it for Jock, which I thought was a pretty nice touch.
Hey, have you ever built basketball lineups and baseball lineups at the same time?
I generally just try to host. This is hosting is
my brain is having some fun. I have a feeling I'm not the only one. I have a feeling chat is in the same department right now where, they're not having to analyze a show at the same time, which is decent enough. But my God, I've got 48 crunches going right now. And I'm trying to figure out I tried to upload my baseball CSV to my basketball CSV. And that's just where we're at right now.
That's okay. So give us, what are you working through basketball wise? What is driving you nuts basketball? So you could talk
Alex Caruso. I don't want to play the Alex Caruso's 4,200 on FanDuel and like the most popular dude on the slate. But if you remove him, like, what are your other options? Max Strus. I just don't want to be holding hands with the field. Also, it's such a great late swap opportunity. Back-to-back days of great late swap, 4 games. You got to kind of enjoy it while it's going right now. But if you were able to swap onto some McDaniels after a rough start for some chalky small forwards, or if you were trying to catch Bogdanovich, you just basically punted the position after one game. So thinking about late swap, thinking about how I want to build with Alex Caruso being the massive popular piece in the early going. It's just a tilting NBA slate.
No, I was looking at Boston. I like JD Martinez today for the Celtics.
He's good. And also Daniel Tice. This is the most uncomfortable roster on planet Earth. It's not fun.
Yeah, he doesn't really have a very good slider. We'll see how he does today. I'm just
going
to try to break your brain.
I appreciate you.
Baseball, basketball, just absolutely wreck you. That's what
you know
what
though?
Here.
Life could be worse. This is pretty fun. Like this is an okay way to live your life, right, Jordan Klein?
Wait until you're crunching USFL lineups a little later, right?
I didn't even screw with that this weekend. I was going to because I had a feeling there would be a massive edge, but I just couldn't stomach it. Couldn't do it. It's Easter. I'm with the family. You gotta have. A man has to have a code, and my code is not USFL this weekend.
That's right. You're hanging out in Arizona, getting the sun. Coming from a place like LA, it's got to be nice to get away. Get some
finally got some nice weather.
It's a good spot to be.
What's it like being dead inside after I said that? Yeah, I saw it. I saw sadness. You should go on vacation to LA. Screw this New York stuff.
I know. Going to New York tomorrow. So yeah it's nice seeing the Mets game. It's a balmy 47 degrees. Though. I just started getting back into the flip-flop life here in North Carolina, and now I'm going to have to reverse and go back. Just traveling the wrong way. I don't make good decisions in life. So this is where we're at. Phillies Marlins. Let's make some good decisions on Zach Wheeler today. Yes. Zach Wheeler, good decision, good idea, Jeans.
He is going to be my highest owned pitcher, I think, on this slate. I just feel like there's a lot of leverage that can be had with the Zach Wheeler upside game here. This Miami offense, there's some pieces that are a lot better, but Zach Wheeler's a guy that I tend to go over the field on drastically. I think he's the best pitcher. It's just proven after last season to be the best pitcher on the staff over Aaron Nola. 28.5% hard hit percentage last season. That is elite. 2.79 expected ERA last season. That is elite. You couple that all with a 29.1% K percentage, the best of his big league career. I think we've definitely found something here with Wheeler. He's still, he's 31 years old. There you go. But I just think he's definitely found improvement every single season of his big league career. I'm not looking at one outing, 65 pitches. I think we're going to see a better spot here for Wheeler. You get Miami in Miami. This just sets up as a spot that I want to be overinvested to.
Yeah, take some shots here against this Miami offense that did add a little bit this offseason. But you're still going to, Joey Wendell's hitting cleanup in this Miami offense today. Peyton Henry is in the 9 spot, not someone that I'm very familiar with there. And we always like Jorge Soler, but there's not a whole lot of big time bats there for Miami. So you get Zach Wheeler in the big ballpark going there. Not a whole lot of runs expected in this game. The over-under total sitting at 8. So it's really, why is it Wheeler over everybody else? Because you could look at Manoah and see that he's projected for a little bit more. They're similar in price. Is it just that the field isn't on Zach Wheeler today, and that's why you're going to double down on him?
Yeah, I think people see the 65 pitches and maybe want to shy away from something like this, but there was no spring training, and I think we're going to see 70 plus here against Miami, and I think that that's good enough at 10-2. I mean, the opportunity cost is an Alex Wood who proved that he can pitch 85 plus pitches right out of the gate. Nestor Cortez also isn't going to just have that much of his pitch count isn't going to be out of control here too. I just think Wheeler has an opportunity to rack up Ks in a way that other people at the top of the board just aren't. So yeah, I understand if you have pitch count concerns, if you don't want to take that shot, but I think that's going to reduce his ownership. If you knew Zach Wheeler could pitch 80 pitches against Miami in this spot, I would expect his ownership to be north of 30%. I don't think it will be. He's right now projected 23.5%. He's got a top pitcher percentage in the mid-teens. There's not that big of an opportunity cost. I really think that there's such blow up potential too with Patrick Corbin, Jose Quintana, Bailey Ober, these other guys that are just in that same range as him. And it's so easy to get over the field on them in addition to stacking against them that I just find it easier for me to land on Zach Wheeler, who I think can just be, I find it very hard to believe that you're not getting double-digit points out of him here. And on this kind of a slate with the pitching options we have, that's good enough for me.
I think it's interesting because of the time of year too, and the kind of spring training that we had, right? Because Wheeler, he had the shoulder issue. He fell behind. That's why his pitch count is a little lower than these other guys. But we've watched the first 2 weeks of this season. We saw Clayton Kershaw get pulled 80 pitches, 7-inning perfect game. Nobody's throwing 120 pitches right now. If you're talking about, let's say it's July, and Alek Manoah has the ability to go 115 pitches, and you're only going to get 80 out of Wheeler or 75 out of Wheeler, it's a bigger factor. But with Manoah, he's not going 100 anyway. Nobody's really going 100 and being pushed that far with the shortened spring. So you talk about the opportunity cost. I think that's significant. And look, he didn't look bad his last time out against the Mets. 3 strikeouts, 4 2/3, more than capable of lasting 5 innings and putting up the strikeouts as we've seen in the past. I don't think the stuff was lacking.
Yeah, and people are talking about his velocity and such too. That kind of goes into what we're talking about. You have a very short, it's not like these guys were sitting at home doing nothing. They were definitely getting set to go in anticipation of a major league season, but you get out of your routine. Maybe things aren't as airtight. Maybe you're not just out there flame throwing right out of the gate. I don't have concerns until we have a larger sample size, but you can't capitalize once we actually see it. Once the velo gets up, once he's up there striking out 7, 8, 9 and going 80 plus pitches, you're going to miss the boat to the opportunity to capitalize. So against Miami, I'm willing to take that risk. So it's an opportunity cost thing. If you're risk averse, I think you're just much more inclined to just play a bunch of Manoah, play a bunch of Nestor Cortez, move on with your life. But I think taking shots on a guy like Wheeler, shots on guys even as bad as what Jose Quintana is, there's definitely viability to getting to lots of these guys in tournaments early on.
How much, if at all, do you go to Miami just in case there is a blow up potential that we don't expect from Wheeler, but with the physical issues, maybe they pop up and you hope he's gone after an inning or two or something. Maybe not hope, but financially might be beneficial.
Or I'm just wrong and he only pitches 65 pitches and he goes 4 innings, 4.5 innings, or 5 innings there. And you get an opportunity to have this stack, get the Phillies bullpen, which over the last couple of years has not been the best. So Jorge Soler, Jesus Sanchez at the top of this order. You add in a guy like Joe Wendell. That's not the most intriguing name to get to. Brian Anderson has some pop. Jazz Chisholm. I'm okay getting to these guys and stacking them up. They're completely unowned. They're all under 1%. So it's really not that hard to get 3-4% of them. I'm going to have a lot of Wheeler, so I definitely want to have the other side covered, but definitely not a stack to completely write off the way that they were last year.
Elisa Hernandez going on the other end for the Miami Marlins here against this Phillies offense that just has a lot of pop. And this is the team that, as far as on home runs go, just jumped off the board. And I'm sure this will be the case all year, but Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, Nick Castellanos, Rhys Hoskins, Didi Gregorius, all guys that are going to be in the mix to hit some long balls today. But the offense as a whole for the Phillies, not forecasted to be more the middle of the pack. So it's kind of an all or nothing kind of setup here.
Yeah,
maybe some one-offs.
This is kind of a very intriguing pitcher, Elisa Hernandez. 11.3% top two pitcher percentage, only 1.6% ownership. I don't really know what to think about that. That seems drastically low. He got up to 76 pitches, got knocked up a little bit in his first outing. But the nice thing about rostering a guy like this on a slate like this is if the K stuff is there, it could really blow some guys away. 22.5% K percentage for his career. But 32.1% back in 2020, that regressed a little bit to 23.6%. I think there's an opportunity to roster a little bit more than you think going up against this Phillies offense. So that's actually a guy that I had circled as somebody to maybe get to a little bit more of. Direct pivot off of Cortez. Not that I really ever think about that in baseball, just more of looking at it as the whole. How popular is the stack? How popular is the pitcher? Kind of trying to find little bits of leverage here and there. And looking at the Phillies offense, it's not a great ballpark, a little bit of negative leverage. They definitely added a bat that you got to like in Kyle Schwarber going forward. But I think on the whole, we kind of know what this offense is. They definitely have opportunities to knock up any pitcher here. And I would rather prefer to stack them up against a popular pitcher than a guy who's just completely unknown. So I might get to more of the Hernandez side. Might be a little bit lower on this Phillies offense.
Yeah, I like going after the home runs, and I would probably take some shots on the Phillies here more so than the other end. But the Phillies are going to be one of those teams, I think, all year. You're going for the stack or you're playing against them and looking for the strikeouts, because that is what this team is all the way up and down the lineup. There's not a whole lot of first to third going on in this Phillies lineup.
It's a good way to look at
it. It's like a softball lineup. So they're going to look to mash, and they might hit 5 homers in a game and be a great stack for you, score 8 runs, right? Or, they could certainly get shut down and deal with a lot of strikeouts. I think that's going to be something we're going to be playing with all year. But, I mean, you got 5 guys with that kind of power potential with this matchup. That is certainly going to be a team that is intriguing to me. The Tigers Royals, as we mentioned at the top, the rain out of the day, which brings us to the Awesemo Hall of Fame. You want to be in the Hall of Fame. Everybody likes to be a Hall of Famer. I've been on this earth now 37 years. Not a Hall of Famer in anything, which I almost feel like is pretty hard to do. So be better than that. Download the Awesemo avatar from awesemo.com/avatar. This is how you get into the Hall of Fame. Have the avatar, place top 3 in a contest with over 5,000 contestants, and then you tweet the win to @Awesemo HOF, Hall of Fame. And not only are you a Hall of Famer and you get to, put that everywhere, put it on your LinkedIn, you win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum as well. That's the real prize here. So check that out. You can only win 1 free month once per calendar year, but it's pretty good. You not only get into the Hall of Fame, you finish top 3 in a contest with 5,000 contestants. You did pretty well there too. So it's a win. So make sure you have that Awesemo avatar, awesemo.com/avatar. I always think too, and don't hold me to this legally, I think it scares away the competition. I think they see the Awesemo logos there at the top and they're like, I'm just going to give up. I'm done. And then they walk away. They wilt right then and there. The lineup just falls apart with their 80% owned Alex Caruso's.
Don't. Why would you even? I hate it. I hate it here.
Sorry.
I hate it here. It's okay.
I'm not the right guy to be with when you're trying to do like 10 things.
Here's the thing
at once.
is that on FanDuel specifically, he just has such stock upside that he could just get 4 steals right out of the gate and you're drawing dead if you full fade him or do something ridiculous. I think I'm going to be that idiot who just holds hands with the field, plays like 40% of him. And I don't like it. I just hate that I'm doing it.
How does that affect you watching the game? Are you cursing Alex Caruso, or then do you have to root for him, or do you
I have no idea
right in your gut?
That's the worst part about it, is that you generally make stands on these guys. Like I took a pretty large stand against Bogdanovich 2 games ago for Atlanta. That worked out really, really nicely. I took a large stand against Zubats the other night. That worked out well. But it's like, what are you replacing them with? And on this slate, it's like, what do you replace Caruso with? Max Strus, PJ Tucker as a salary saving guy over on DK. It's a really tough slate in terms of trying to figure out the value. It's so laden in this mid-range too, like CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram. I feel like I'm just rostering so many of these guys that it's hard for me to just get away from from trying to find like more mid-range, like 4 or 5K guys. And I'm just trying to avoid getting to the very bottom of the barrel here. So Giannis might end up being a casualty of it. And I just don't like that feeling.
I think a good pivot for Caruso on Chicago is Vince Velazquez. What do you think of that?
Oh, no. Why would you see? You're such a nerd. I love you, but you're a nerd. I see what you did there, though.
It's like
you're like thinking it. Yeah, no, that checks out.
Tampa Bay Rays, Chicago White Sox, each expected to score 4.25 runs. I can guarantee you they won't score 4.25 runs exactly, but they might be in the neighborhood. JP Firezine going for the Tampa Bay Rays. That was nerdy. Vince Velazquez for the Chicago White Sox. Let's start with Velazquez because he's always kind of a fun guy. He could rack up the strikeouts. He could also give up 10 home runs. He's one of those. He's one of the fun guys on the slate here. But the numbers last time out weren't exactly encouraging for Mr. Velazquez.
We have different ideas of fun because Vince Velazquez has never, ever, he's been a lot of things. He's never been fun. That outing you're referring to just got lit up. 751 expected slugging, 8.22 expected ERA in that start. Just gave up 2 and 2.25. So yeah, 2.25 ERA now through that start. It could have been very, very bad for him here. He's going unowned. He's not somebody who misses bats as much anymore. 24.2% K percentage last year. That's actually better than what I was anticipating. 29.9% in 2020. Short sample size there. He is regressing in a big way, but there's definitely some K opportunities. So maybe getting to a little bit, but that's not fun. That's not fun because he's just bad. 6.8% top 2 pitcher percentage. Again, he's going to be a guy you can get some shares of in 150, but those shares could very well just not, I don't know. I have 2% of him in my run of lineups just a second ago. I'm thinking that I might just remove him altogether, but maybe it's not a pitcher I believe in at all. I never enjoyed him in Philly. He only ever burned me. He had massive games, or when you did roster him, he would give up, 8 earned. That's how he operates. And that's the way Vince Velazquez, that's the Vince Velazquez experience. It's an uncomfortable one.
That's fun. Yeah, you're right, though. Like, I used to play him a lot, 2019, 2020 when he was out there, 10 strikeouts per 9, 12 strikeouts per 9. Last year, down to 9.6 strikeouts per 9. That's, the wrong direction here.
But even when he's been good, he's giving up such hard
He still gives
contact.
up a ton of runs. Yeah, you're just hoping for that one outing where he lasts 5 innings, strikes out 8, and you're sitting pretty.
All right, just for you, I'll
don't do it. Take it out. I don't want to be blamed for all this. Then
I'd rather have somebody
hit me
blame.
up on
Thanks.
Slack, just writing nerd. How could you do this to me with
I'm a
Velazquez?
Nerd. Pot calling the kettle black. That's what that is.
It's okay.
I've
been called better. JP Firezine going for, let's stick with Vince Velazquez. So we talk about the strikeout potential for Velazquez that might still exist. And then you're dealing with this Tampa Bay offense. I like Wander Franco. He's pretty good. But what is this? Stay away? You're playing?
No. You play these guys
in Chicago.
Yeah. So Tampa Bay, this is going to be a spot where I take a pretty large stand. Massive amount of positive leverage going their direction. 3.4%. Again, I keep refreshing the tools, but I also want to be very aware of where ownership is here. And on DraftKings, there's just too much good leverage to be had. Plus, you talked about it. Brandon Lau, I can't remember a day that I wasn't massively overweight on this guy. It feels like almost every single slate, I just play a ton and I live with the result. Wander Franco, obviously, one of the best young players in baseball, 5,200. So that price has started to trail off. I don't know why these bats are going completely unknown. This is going to be a very large stand for me on this slate. You get a Rosarena, Josh Lau, Manuel Margot, even. Like, I'm getting to a ton of these bats, and I think you should too.
Yeah, they're expensive. And as much fun as Velazquez is, I don't mind going against him here. Now, I like Tampa Bay in this spot. You mentioned Brandon Lau. That's the number one name that I popped out here as someone, hope you get that home run, the long ball from him, certainly capable of it against Velazquez, and probably quite a few innings of the Chicago White Sox bullpen. Looking at Velazquez's track record as far as that goes. And then the other end, Fireside going for Tampa Bay. I don't mind Chicago's offense in this spot. A lot of positive leverage on that end. And the White Sox, they're legitimately fun to play. We could probably agree that the White Sox are a fun offense to play, even if you don't think Vince Velazquez is.
Yeah, though they're very fun, and there's positive leverage on an offense that has as much potency as they do. This is a bullpen game. This is not going to be a very comfortable spot to go roster some of these guys. But at the same time, you just have to kind of consider getting to such great individual hitters. A guy like Luis Robert is just going to be phenomenal for years and years to come. You get tons of power, you get speed, you get everything you want. Yasmani Grandal, I absolutely love as a one-off. Anytime you get Yasmani Grandal sitting around 5%, the amount of power that he's got there, batting cleanup, that's just kind of surprising to me because he can, regardless who they bring out of the pen, he's got a decent enough power from both sides of the plate.
Gavin Sheets, Sunday catcher. I mean, you got all these backups hitting 9, and then you got Yasmani Grandal in the middle. Yeah,
of the 5%.
5%. That's great.
Yeah. So I've got 20% of him. Well, no, 17%, but didn't mean to lie just now. But that's what I've got right now, and he's just a phenomenal one-off. A guy that I feel pretty confident, one of the better one-offs you can get to at a position that, as you just said, you've got some of these options that exist on the top end, but for the most part, he's the one that's going underutilized. Gary Sanchez is so popular too. That's the other problem.
Oh, in Boston.
What's happening?
Well, he's got a lot of pop. Sanchez going up against the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. But I'm saying that as a one-off, I mean, he's just going to be so popular as that. Like I don't want to play 14% of him when I can get a 5% Yasmani Grandal.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm with you on Yasmani Grandal. And he always gives you points. I mean, he's got a much higher floor, obviously, than Gary Sanchez as well with his on-base ability. So Tampa Bay, Chicago, what you're looking at there in terms of how they can go at one another. And two, the stacks I like today, they're not, the most likely to pop, but they have some value and they have the ability to go big is the St. Louis Cardinals and Milwaukee Brewers. You don't have to worry about weather here. It's indoors. Brewers looking at 4.5 runs. The Cardinals right around 4 runs. Dakota Hudson, Aaron Ashby. These are the two that for me popped a little bit with the combination of value, their ability to go, and looking at the ownership as well. I kind of like a little formula that I use off of the top stacks to find some things. I like both ends of this particular game offensively.
Yeah, this is going to be a decent enough offensive spot here. St. Louis and Milwaukee. Aaron Ashby, he was supposed to be something. So far, it just hasn't really come that much to fruition. You're looking just at implied totals. I mean, Milwaukee is definitely a team that's popping for me, kind of rounding it out. And I think you should be able to be confident getting to some positive leverage there as well. So, I mean, just a 4% ownership share. This is a team that I find myself full stacking quite a bit, but even more leverage getting to St. Louis, the most leveraged team on DraftKings in the boom bust or in the top stacks tool. So, I mean, I just find myself getting to a lot of these offenses.
And looking at the Cardinals, Albert Pujols is DHing once again in the middle of the lineup.
Gross.
I don't know what his price is today, but it's usually pretty low. You get the shot at the home run. You take a run.
Yeah.
That's not the way you like to go, huh? You don't like fishing for homers.
I don't like fishing.
You don't think Vince Velazquez is fun?
Yeah, no, it's none of this is that fun. I mean, Albert Pujols is just old. Maybe I need to just have an age model there. I mean, Nelson Cruz breaks it. I love that man still, but for the most part, this is just Albert Pujols is washed. Don't go crazy there, please.
He is washed.
Yeah, I don't know what St. Louis. I guess he's just the pride and joy, and maybe St. Louis in this division. I mean, you have Milwaukee with all the aces that they have. It's just going to be a tough year, I think, for everybody else in that division. Maybe it's just like a feel-good story, but then he divorced his wife right before the season after surgery and all this other stuff. It's like, yeah, not great, Albert. Not great, buddy.
Well, he's got to make some money back then. He's motivated. Aaron Ashby going for Milwaukee. You like Ashby at all in this spot? Even Dakota Hudson, either end of this, anything worth getting to? We're talking about how we like the stacks, but it's mostly because of the leverage, not that these teams are automatics to go off. Yeah,
Ashby, crazy K percentage, 29.3% over the course of last year. Such limited sample size. It's hard to really know what to make of it, but the intriguing part about him has constantly been his ability to miss bats. I said he's been a guy that getting called up that really made some sense there. He got extended to 68 pitches on the 11th. So maybe there's not the worst viability in taking some shots on Ashby going up against St. Louis, but not a team that's going to strike out a lot. They have a more than your average amount of good righties in terms of just straight out power there in Goldschmidt, in Arenado. I think both of those are two guys that I want to just be over the field on today.
Get over on them. And then for the Milwaukee Brewers offensively here going up against Dakota Hudson. Who do you like in this Brewers lineup to take a shot at and see what they get? I always like Rowdy Tellez, trying to get him in the mix with his long ball potential.
Yeah, Rowdy Tellez is a weird guy just in terms of I thought in Toronto that he would come to fruition a little bit. He's got a lot of pop. He stands out in our projections. I'm okay getting to a little bit there. Willie Adames defies everything I know about baseball, where it came from Tampa Bay and just became an elite hitter. That's absurd. Christian Yelich has seen just massive regression, but I expect him to be healthy this season. I expect some better things out of him going forward. Colton Wong, going back to his St. Louis days, we know what can kind of exist from there. Just an intriguing lineup to get to. There's really nobody rostering them. And Dakota Hudson, in the same way that Aaron Ashby, he actually has K stuff. Dakota Hudson is not somebody that we need to be looking at rostering. So there's not positive leverage in terms of facing a popular pitcher, but at the same time, it's a stack that I think has a lot of viability.
They have some ability to get this going. And we got, we got some time here on the show. You got some questions on what we should be, what you're curious about this MLB slate. You got some NBA questions. We'll certainly take those as well. Someone wants to know who's going double dong today.
Oh, who is going double dong? I'm hoping Yasmani Grandal, a guy that I'm just kind of, we talked about. He's a guy that I'd really like. We also have one more game on the FanDuel slate. I'm not sure who's playing on FanDuel here today, but we've got Angels in Texas on that one specifically. So if we want to touch on that, we can do that too.
Yeah, let's hit it.
Yeah. So pitchers in this one, you've got Martin Perez, Jose Suarez. Two guys we've seen a lot of. They're not going to be popular. I don't think they are remotely viable to roster over on FanDuel today. We don't have to think about them on DK, where I think they might have some utility as SP2s. Just complete write-offs from a pitching department. But you have to look at this Angels offense on FanDuel. I don't know if anybody's aware, but they've got some hitters, and they're the top stack on the entire board on FanDuel for a reason. There's really not that much negative leverage. There's more negative leverage going to Toronto, New York, Boston, Minnesota, all of those teams, and they all have worse top stack percentages. So in Texas, one of the best hitting environments here for quite a while going forward. Yeah, it's only 65 degrees now, wind blowing out slightly, but compared to some of these really cold weather games that we have on the slate, you start getting guys like Shohei Ohtani, who's going to always be leaning off your Mike Trout, Joe Adele. Don't ever sleep on this guy. I think he's got a massive amount of power, 2,500 on the FanDuel slate. I would get to a lot of them. And then on the other side, Texas, not exactly a team that you should be shying away from as well. 6% top stack percentage. We know the revamped offense. They've been performing a little bit above expectations as well. The big problem is that there's no Corey Seager in the lineup today. So I'm looking at Marcus Simeone as a guy. He's popular, 3,700, 16% owned, but I think he makes a really nice one-off if you're going 4-3-1 over there. Willie Calhoun at the bottom of this lineup, a young prospect that just never really panned out there, batting eighth. I'm probably shying away from a lot of shares. I probably wouldn't get to any of him in my stacks here either way. Adolis Garcia, though, at 3K. Mitch Garver, Nate Lau, all of those guys make great additions to your stacks.
Get it done.
How about that? Look at that. I did a thing. Thank you.
I took that one off my sheet.
Dismount.
I took that one off my sheet, so I just had to lay it up for you and let you go.
And, all right, I'll just do your job for you. No big.
No, I know. I'm slacking, man.
I almost X out of my browser. That would have been the apocalypse. Oh, baby.
Whew. There's some drama. This isn't quite EMAC putting in lineups right before lock, but I'm feeling a little sweat from you.
I think George Springer double dong, probably one of the most likely candidates on the board. Everybody's saying Vlad double dong again, Nelson Cruz. I like the Nelson Cruz call. Michael Chavez would be another good one for me. Brandon Lau's a good call.
I'm going to go up against my fun guy, Vince Velazquez. Now I feel pressure for Velazquez to pitch well or pitch terribly. I think either way is the definition of fun. 4 innings, 2 runs allowed. That wouldn't be fun.
That wouldn't be
the
fun.
Antithesis of fun.
There you go. Fun. We're having fun. Not really.
Lots of fun.
All right. I'm uploading this. I got NBA in. I got everything in. Guys, this is just madness. This is a mad, crazy day getting everything done. But you know what? I do it for you. I do it for the people.
You do. And you're going to be back. You're going to be talking NBA live before lock a little bit later on today. So you'll have another sweat, some more lineups to crunch. They'll be starting up at 5:30 Eastern time. If you need more entertainment, more DFS to be playing, you got NASCAR live before lock at 4:30 Eastern, so you can add NASCAR to this fun little sports day we've got all lined up. So be sure to check that out coming up in a few hours as well. We appreciate you guys hanging with us, for bearing with me. Give us a like, subscribe, keep up with all of our shows, our DFS offers, our giveaways, much, much more. And once you do subscribe, hit that notification button, get alerts when our shows go live. Jordan Klein killing it, as always, producing on this Easter. And Eric, sorry for just trying to mess with your brain for the last hour and 15 minutes. You probably didn't need that to start your day. You're on vacation, you're hanging out with family, and then you got to deal with this mess.
I do shows with Greg Ehrenberg. There is nothing, and I mean nothing, that you could do that I can't handle.
Okay, well, we'll try to step it up next week. How about that?
Sounds good.
For Eric Lindquist, I'm Pete McCarthy. Thanks, guys, for getting involved in the chat as well. Lots still to come here on the Awesemo DFS channel over the rest of the day. Take care. Good luck.